It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Go ahead and turn me up a little bit there. More. Give him what for. Go ahead and turn on the Comrex. Get it up more there. We're having problems when we went and did the Freedom Summit and came back and plugging in. We got wires. So we're getting it all fixed up. We had some complaints last few days that you weren't able to hear me. Can you hear me now? Well, what we're going to do is we'll get it fixed today. And our first guest, we have open mic with just me in the second hour, so we won't have this problem. You may be hearing some crackling a little bit as we interviewing our first guest, and I apologize. We're getting it fixed up, man, because we got a lot of complaints that say, hey, I can't hear you. Now you have to go to the archive, which is all good anyway. But let me go ahead and share with you what we're going to do in the second hour before we get to Lieutenant Eric Shine. What I did yesterday, I interviewed a man named Matt Bruce. The Captain's America radio show. Will WikiLeaks endanger our military? Now, think about this. Here's a guy that lives by CENTCOM, Central Command in Florida. He was very boisterous. I have been in Central Command as they are bombing with drones, missiles, killing bad guys. We need to kill more bad guys. And I like this hypersonic, send it off from Kansas, hour anywhere on the planet, go and bomb them. He even said the words, might overwrite. Okay. And if those Afghanis had just shut up and sit down, we'd build them some roads. Oh, and by the way, we want all their lithium. I mean, this is his rhetoric, because they want to kill us. Well, why do they want to kill us? Well, it doesn't matter, they want to kill us. So I let him go. I just wanted him on record, and there's a reason why. There's so I went ahead and put, you look at the top of Freedom's Phoenix, and I put up his 3 segments of the interview I had right before Gerald Celente came on. And I just let him go. You give him enough rope, man. I got my say. I got to say what I wanted to say. But the thing is that I needed him on record because, I'll give you just a little teaser here. In the 60s, he was a Vietnam vet. He was a first responder, fireman, got injured in 9/11. He has a son that's doing his 3rd tour in Afghanistan as a Marine. He has a talk show, the Captain's America radio show, and I'll get to that in a second. And he does a show on Troop Talk Radio, sponsored by the Department of Defense. Now, why would I interview such a man and let him go on and on and on and on? The complaint, I got an email from someone on Facebook, and they said, Ernie, I was embarrassed for you. I can't believe that it was shameful that you would, not, I don't know, slap him, call him baby killer that he is or something. I get it. There's a reason. I wanted him to talk. I want to share that with you when we come back in the second hour. There's always, a plan of working in Ernie's head. You're around long enough, you see trends, and you can see what is going to happen. I am going to share with you his role in the U.S., United Nations, and Marvel Comics, and Captain America, and the new movies, and the comic books they did for UN, and indoctrination of the youth, and what I see coming in the future. Here it comes, and we got right into CENTCOM. You're welcome. So I'll go ahead and explain that. Now, I'll tell you about, at the Freedom Summit, there was a gentleman that drove all the way from California. He called me and he said, hey, man, I'm coming. Don't finish without me, I'm coming. And he wanted to make sure he got to meet some of our speakers and myself, and he handed us some documents that, honestly, I've just skimmed over. I haven't really had time to, we talked to him a little bit. I had some people look it over, and it's an interesting perspective from someone that knows a little bit more about the Coast Guard. Because we have the Coast Guard, the first Homeland Security guy, he was a Coast Guard guy. Why would they? Because the Coast Guard is kind of this private civilian, kind of the closest you're going to get to, the U.S. military-controlled domestic operation kind of. They're not out, bombing people in other countries. The Coast Guard's supposed to be protecting us, and that, what better way to get Homeland Security, kind of, getting their foot in the door on local law enforcement. So we're going to talk about that with Eric Shine. I got you there, Eric?
Yeah, Ernie. Thanks.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, see, there's that cracking. Go ahead and, we'll do the best we can. Eric, go ahead and explain to me what your concern is and what you've learned.
Well, I went to the United States Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, and, via congressional appointment, I come out of there as a naval officer serving on special duty in the United States Merchant Marine. And we find ourselves in a peculiar position right now, one that we've found ourselves in before, where 97% of our international cargo coming into and leaving the United States is going on foreign flag. And President Bush had moved to outsource the scanning of the container cargoes coming into the United States through a company called Hutchinson Whampoa. That it's a Chinese corporation that is owned and controlled and managed, with the CEO as being the former second in command of the Chinese Army. So you got all these things going on in the maritime industry and in the merchant marine that do not make sense for our not only civil defense but national security. But then you've got the Coast Guard. In 2003, I actually sued several of the shipping companies. Matson is one, and the other is American Present Lines, and also the quote-unquote labor union. It's an association for the federal maritime officers, officers on board American flag vessels, for federal contracting violations. This was in advance of the launching of the war in Iraq, and they held me in federal district court for a couple years. They eventually got the Coast Guard to file a counter-complaint against me as the Coast Guard moved from not the Department of Defense, but from the Department of Transportation into the Department of Homeland Security. And it has started to proclaim openly and to declare and to self-define that it is not a federal civil service maritime police agency anymore, which is what it was in the Department of Transportation, but that now somehow in Homeland Security is an independent, self-declared, self-described special branch of military that can impose and administer itself upon civilian affairs. So that it is a branch of military coming under Title 10 and the Uniform Code of Military Justice that it has somehow voluntarily taken on outside of the Department of Defense, that Title 10 and the UCMJ are to be confined within, and that it is operating for all of its personnel that has swelled from 42,000 members up to 65,000 or more. And you pointed to some very important issues. Admiral Loy was not only the first head of the TSA and helped form the TSA, he also set up the regulations for the Transportation Worker Identification Card that is the precursor or progenitor to the new national ID.
Okay, now wait a minute. Let's go ahead. Now, this was not a guy that was head of Homeland Security. It started out. You're saying TSA.
Yes, and he was actually interim head of the Department of Homeland Security as well for a short period, I think, before Chertoff was named. He kind of sat in there for a little bit before they, when Tom Ridge left and Chertoff came in, he was the interim head of the Department of Homeland Security as well. But he was also appointed as the head of the TSA. And this is one of his, the Coast Guard is so deeply involved, even in FEMA.
Yeah, we'll be right back here with Lieutenant Eric Shine He's got, a perspective for us. This is something that we need to know, and I'm more than happy to share it with you because it just adds to the tapestry of what we're going to talk about in the second hour. You guys stay right there. We'll be right back here on Declare Your Independence with Lieutenant Eric Shine just a little bit.